And so I go home and I do my typical meditation that I was doing before, off and on since 2017. And I just thought, I'm just going to try to find my living cat, Chucky, because why not? And so I see this big bright light that shows up, and it's the type that you would associate with like spirit guides and angels and higher level beings. And I think, absolutely not. My cat craps in a box and sometimes on the floor. Like, he's not a higher level being. This is not what's happening. So I call up Adelie and I said, easy, like this isn't even working. And she said, well, you're expecting things to show up in a very specific way, and that's not how this works. Just be open to the information you get, be available to receive it.
Welcome to The Reluctant Medium, where we cover the gamut of out there conversations. With an open mind and a curious heart, we want to talk about it all, from psychic phenomena and energy medicine to beings from other star systems and out-of-body experiences. You'll find a great balance between grounded science-backed topics and others that science hasn't quite caught up to yet. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenburger, a psychotherapist by trade and a reluctant spirit baby communicator. And hey, even though I'm a medium, I'm not buying everything folks are selling. I just have a voracious appetite to know more about what I call the world of the weird. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube at The Reluctant Medium. I'll see you there. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Reluctant Medium podcast. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenburger, your host for the podcast, and I am stoked to bring you today's guest, Nick Musica. He is an animal communicator and plant person, plant medicine, would you call it? Or plant?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I am curious about all of that cool stuff. Hey, welcome, Nick. It's been a little bit trying to get here, but here we are.
Maria, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Stoked to do it. So I am not generally an animal communicator, but I am so curious about getting to this. But first, I would love to know how you came to do this work. And do you wear other hats too? I feel like you wear other hats that are not related to spiritual stuff.
Yeah. Well, my full-time gig is I run a little SEO and web design agency here in San Diego.
Yeah.
I've been in tech I've been doing SEO since 2003, and that's been my world for a very long time. I've always had this odd little thing that's happened since about when I was 20, it started. And to look back on it now is adorable to call it odd, considering what we're talking about today. But, for about 20-ish years, I would have what I learned are clairvoyant dreams. So it would be dreaming about just random things. They never had any material meaning that I could tie to it, but it was like random things, seeing a random person on a random corner in a random city that I was never in. And then a day, a week, a month, a year later, I'm driving by that person on that corner in that city that I was never in, right? And so that type of thing showed up off and on for a long time. And in 2017, I thought I want to figure out what this thing is. And so I started to, sort of sheepishly ask folks who I trusted, because it's a very odd thing to ask. Hey, have you ever had this experience? And people look at you sort of like you're crazy, because the best I can describe it as is I'm time traveling into the future, and then I'm living a little snippet of it. And that's basically the experience. And people would say lucid dreams. They would come back and say, what's it called? When you feel like you've been there before, deja vu. I'm like, it doesn't map to any of those things. And then I heard the phrase clairvoyant dreams, then the definition of it. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's finally, I have a label to attach to it, and it's a thing. Great. This is awesome. But that took 5 years to get there. But the want to find out what that was led to plant medicine, led to meditation, and eventually, and there's no coincidences in any of this. So my wife and I, we went to go play pickleball one day, and it got canceled on a Saturday. And we're like, oh, we should go to the Psychic Fair here in Carlsbad. We totally forgot about it. But now we're going there because pickleball got canceled. It got rained out. And we go to the Psychic Fair, and we don't see anyone that we really want to sit down with. But then we approach the floor from the opposite direction, and right in front of us, there's the sign that says Medium Adelita, Psychic Medium. And I looked at my wife and I said, hey, what do you think of her? Like, I want to I think she could be good. I don't. What do you think? And my wife said, well, why don't you go first? Okay, I'll go first. And I've been to psychics before, and I'm a fan, love it. But psychic medium was a little much for me at the time, and I'm like, I'm just going to play along. I'm playing along. I'm being supportive, and I sit down, and she starts her session by drawing this heart, and she says it's either a former romantic relationship or it's an animal, and she circles animal, and she says you did too much, and I'm just like a little girl who's, you know, crappy little brother ripped off her Barbie doll head. I'm just in tears. I'm just bawling because I know exactly who it is. It's my cat Henry, who was 22 when he died. The last 2 years we're going back and forth to the vet for all the things you would possibly check on an animal that is, you know, well past his prime. We're not solving any problems or treating all the symptoms of problems. And so you did too much was a great summary. And so now I'm catching up. My disbelief is rapidly breaking, and now I'm catching up into the conversation that's going on here. And she says, they, my guides, they're showing me Dr. Doolittle. They're showing me that you can talk to animals and it's going to be easy for you. And among all the other thoughts in my head, there was quite a few. I thought that, yeah, that's right. And I don't have a good reason why, but I feel like that's 100% true.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
Yeah. You had a knowing.
Yeah. It just landed in a way where it, you know, it could have been the craziest thing that you ever heard, but there was an absolute 100%. I literally would have said that was garbage a second ago.
Yeah.
If someone else said it, but you said it. And in this moment, here's how it landed. And there's a bunch of things that were going on that she had no awareness of. I mean, she didn't know that in September, that was in March. And in September of that prior year, a friend of mine was talking about her, what you call, she had like a gem and meditation and psychic reading, a wellness shop in Colorado. And she said, we used to work with the animal communicator. And I was like, I don't know what that is. What is that? And she told me about it. I'm like, that's a thing? That's really, people do this? This is fascinating. And so I started to buy books about it. And like, I'm just buying more and more books because it's just interesting to read the stories. Right. And so I just got turned on to this animal communication being a thing, 6 months, whatever it was prior. And then that was September, right? And then that August before that September, oh man, this was awful and great all at the same time. We had Mike, who comes over to clean our carpets, come over, and I couldn't find my little girl cat. And my job is to put the cats in the closets or in the bathrooms until Mike is finished, because the door is open, they'll freak out. Like it's a bad scene. So they whoop and holler in the bathrooms for a while until Mike is finished. And I couldn't find her little girl. And then I finally did. And I'm stressed because of the situation. And I want to keep her safe and I finally grab her and I'm holding her. I have her body on my forearm and her face is sort of like this, right? My fingers in front of her face. I'm holding her neck just to secure her. And all of a sudden she reacts. She reacts to the stress of the situation. She reacts to my stress. And she bites my finger and she hits the bone, my index finger.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I eventually get her into the bathroom, but I'm thinking, holy shit, like that hurt a lot. I'm pretty sure she hit the bone. And I'm sweating and I'm bleeding over the sink. Anyway, fast forward, I ended up spending 4 days in the hospital. I had a bone infection. I had a bone infection.
Oh, my God.
Right. So when she says, they show me Dr. Doolittle, they show me you can talk to animals, it's going to be easy for you. Yes, I felt 100%. And also I'm thinking that book and that conversation, and man, I can talk to animals. I did not talk well to my little girl Ninja. Right. And some people go, so where's Ninja now? She's still home. She's still here. Everything is cool. But so like these things are floating around in my head as she's saying this. And then we continued our session. But that was the first time anyone said you can do this and it's going to be easy for you. And then like all good humans, I was like, sure, I can do this. Also, I'm going to make it way harder than it should be. Right. So I go home to talk about reluctant. Right. And so I go home and I do my typical meditation that I was doing before, off and on since 2017. And I just thought, I'm just going to try to find my living cat, Chucky. because why not? Like that seems like a good idea. And so I see this big bright light that shows up, and it's the type that you would associate with like spirit guides and angels and like higher level beings. And I think, absolutely not. My cat craps in a box and sometimes on the floor. Like he's not a higher level being. This is not what's happening. So I call up Adelie and I said, easy, like this isn't even working. And she was very helpful. She said, well, you're expecting things to show up in a very specific way, and that's not how this works. Just be open to the information you get, be available to receive it, and that's the summary of the conversation. Well, that's makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to give it a second shot, and I buy more animal communication books. I'm trying, and I get a couple animal communication sessions lined up because I'm trying to understand everything about this topic. Like, what does it even look like? What does it look like? And as I'm about to get on the line with an animal communicator, I get up from my dining room table to go on a Zoom meeting like this, and I get this quick flash, and it's a scene out of Return of the Jedi. It's where Obi-Wan and Yoda, the ghosts, are standing next to each other. And I'm like, oh, I'm being shown a student-teacher relationship. And I'm not the teacher here. That's pretty clear. And I know this is coming from Chucky. So I get on the line, living cat Chucky. And I get on the line with the animal communicator, and she validates who we're here to talk about. And she goes, do you know who he is to you? Yeah, he just showed me. And now we spent 15 minutes talking about he's here to open me up and what all that looks like. And so this was, reality changed. It went from, like, in 2017, I had those dreams before that, but in 2017, starting to hear things and see things and feel things started to show up. And then when the animals started to show up, that quickly translated into how the animals would show up, give or take. There was a bunch of other things that showed up too, but that when she said easy, it was because of the work that I was doing before that sort of, you sort of almost like a transferable skill. Well, this is the job you were doing. Can you do this over here? Yeah, I was doing this over here. I can now do it over there. Yeah, there's some things I need to learn, but you just jump over here into this lane. Now you're going. And, but it was weird, right? And so, like, how do you, like, I didn't want to tell people about the dreams, never mind talking to animals. And so for a while, it was me having these experiences with animals and being really good and really skeptical. I'm really good at making things harder and being skeptical for myself.
Yep.
Right. And so we went to Mexico. We went to Cabo. We were like kids in candy store. We haven't been out of the house for a long time because of COVID.
Yeah.
Get on a plane. We're doing all the touristy shit. And there's this opportunity to go swim with dolphins in a tank. And so I surf. I've been surfing since 8th grade, and I have a different relationship with dolphins. They should be in the wild. They should be in the ocean. I've seen them there. I've been very close to them. So I have this conflict about it. And we end up going. And there's, as we're there with the dolphin, there's a time where, sort of like at SeaWorld, where the dolphin can go on this little ledge. And, it's like very shallow. And then they can slip back into the deeper pool. They're on the ledge with all the guests. I'm one of the guests, right? So there's 1, 2, 3 on one side, 1, 2, 3 on another side. I'm at the tail end of Liz the dolphin, and the trainer's at the top near her head, just bribing her with fish. And I thought, well, let's just see. Let's see if I can talk to Liz. Why not? And so I tuned into Liz and I found her, and I got this overwhelming feeling of sad. And I'm like, yeah, because you live in a pool. But that was my narrative, right? Going back to be open to the information that comes with you. Like, I just immediately shut it off and entered my own narrative, right? And so realizing that, I thought, well, let's keep that connection open. And I asked why. And she goes, family. And then that was it. That was the end of the connection. So afterwards, I talked to my wife and I said, I got to validate something here. So I went to the trainers and I said, we had a great time with Liz the dolphin. I'm really curious, mom, dad, siblings, like who does she have here? And they go, no, dad's off the planet, but mom and her sister are here. Oh, cool. Where are they? Well, you see that tank over there, the one that's separated by this thick concrete wall? Uh-huh. Well, mom and her sister are over there. Well, why? Well, because when mom had the second baby, Liz still wanted attention from mom. She was causing problems. And mom couldn't nurse the new baby. So we took mom and the baby and put them into the other pool. It makes sense from a human perspective, right?
Yeah.
Also, well, when was that? Well, that was when did they say? It was 3 years ago. Well,
Oh my God.
how old is Liz? Liz is 5. So
Mm.
so Liz has been living next door to her mom and sibling for 3 years, taken away at age 2. Is that right? Mm-hmm. She knows they're there. She can't get to them. Family and sad. Yeah, that explains it. Got it. Okay.
Oh,
Right. So it started to show up for me in weird little ways. And then
not weird.
not
It's
weird.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The weird turned into normal, right? At some point you're like, this is just
Yes.
how things work. This is just how it works.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm curious how you get the information. Is it still clairvoyant, or do you hear audience, or do you,
Yeah.
how does it come?
Typically for me, I'm either seeing something, hearing something, or feeling something.
Okay. Do you find that it's different than other beings when animals come through? Like, are humans different? Other beings, are they different for you?
Different how?
Do they come through differently, or do they feel differently, or do they
Yeah.
communicate with you differently?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say the same. As much as I was like, it's going to be like, because I was, like I started to work with a gentleman in 2017 as well, and started to track, like, learn about energy and track people's energy, and so I thought, oh, it's going to be like this, but over here, and it wasn't a 1-to-1, but that training and that meditation made this over here, the animals, way easier, but it wasn't a 1-to-1. So as much because I was looking for it to like be in a really neat little tiny wrapped up box. It's just going to be packaged up and here we go. And that's just not how it worked. And at the same time, seeing things, hearing things, feeling things has been consistent across animals, humans, other things that may show up. And the big difference with, I'll go with humans and non-humans is probably the best way to categorize it. Anything non-human, including what we would consider animals, super straight shooters. Just straight shooters with the information. Here's what it looks like from my perspective.
Sad family.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean, everything is just bang right on, and talk to human, you're sort of like what the hell are we talking about? Like, right. Like I gotta keep on asking, and this is a management technique, going back to, you do other things too. Like, you have to sort of ask the same question 5 different ways, or tree structure it to sort of get to the answer with a human.
Yes.
Right?
We all make things complicated.
Right.
Damn it.
Right. So like, why did you do that? Well, because reason. That's not why. So why'd you do that thing you just said? That was the reason, right? You just, we're animals. You go, well, why? And they go, because thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. That's exactly how, and I don't specialize in animal communication. And so it's a little bit not off-putting. It's odd to me when an animal comes through, because I'm like, it is that straight shooter feeling. So it's almost like, is that real? I don't know if that's actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Super straight, super straight. Yeah. And I've had them come up. They come up in very, very, very similar to humans. Like, so what part of the human is communicating? Right. There's the higher self, there's the personality, and then there's the body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speak to that. I saw that written somewhere. I think another podcast episode that you did. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool. Yeah. So sometimes, and not often, but sometimes I'll feel something in the body. Like I felt with a woman a couple weeks ago. I just picked up, it almost felt like an empty shoebox in my torso. And I'm like, what is this? Like, you have a really big, just emptiness there. Like, what is that? We got to talk about that. I'm not getting what it is, but I'm getting the feeling of it. And I was like, oh, well, and she goes, well, that's the X, Y, and Z. Now we're going down the path of what that meant. So that can show up. There's also, like the higher self, which is really looking out for, animals are teachers, all the things are teachers, looking out for the best interest of the human. From my perspective, here's what has to change with the human, right? And just really very like Chucky coming through, like just very, the teacher, I have something to say. Here's what it looks like. Very crisp and clear that way. And then there's like Chihuahuas, like they communicate the way in spirit as they do in the physical form. They're very expressive, very loud. Like it's all the things you would imagine. Like, what would that little thing look like psychically? That is, from my experience, that's how it shows up. And so I had I had a Chihuahua show up and it's talking to me, and so you're communicating telepathically, energetically, like, right, with the animals. And so when you have a thought, you're transferring the thought. It's up for grabs, right? They can grab it or
Yeah.
they cannot grab it, right?
Yep.
And
Choice. Yeah.
yeah, and so we're in that space, sharing that space, and I think to myself, man, Chihuahuas are so expressive. And this little Chihuahua goes, yeah, but I'm pretty. Okay, all right, that's right. So now we're talking to the
Yep.
personality. Okay, all right.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So fun. Yeah, so fun.
Hey everyone, do you love the Reluctant Medium podcast and want to support the podcast while getting some amazing perks in return? Join us at the Patreon community. By becoming a Patreon supporter, you'll get access to exclusive content, behind the scenes insights, early episode releases, and a whole ton more. As a member, you'll also have access to spiritual content like guided meditations, in-depth discussions on mediumship, and exclusive interviews with spiritual experts. It's a great way to show your love and stay even more connected with myself and the show. Sign up today at patreon.com/thereluctantmedium and help the Reluctant Medium keep bringing you the content that you love. I wholeheartedly appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you on Patreon soon. I love also what you said before, and then I would love to go back to why did this start happening in your 20s? But first, I just want to highlight what you said, that, here you thought that your cat was, it's just a simple being. It's, it's not very intelligent, not the brightest bulb on the tree. And here he is like your master teacher, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah. As best as I can tell, for whatever the reasons are, when we say yes before we get incarnated into this planet in these bodies in this lifetime, we get to choose, or the vehicle, right? Or the vehicle is chosen for us. I really don't know, but we and I'm guilty of this too. We walk around like we're the bee's knees. We walk around,
yes, we do,
right? Because we have thumbs and credit cards that we are the best thing on the planet, and look at what we've created with those thumbs and credit cards. Right? Like, arguably you can say not so much.
Not paradise? Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you were to take the philosophy of you get to choose paradise, you get to make it, you get to define heaven or hell for yourself philosophically, right? In spirit. What have we chosen repeatedly, right? A mixed bag of the things, right? Where animals are just way more simplistic. They're specialists at what they do. They're amazing little things. We're generalists. Yeah. And so just because they have these furry little bodies and happen to poop in a little box doesn't make them any lesser than us. And they have things to share. It's our own ego and the lack of awareness that typically blinds out those lessons. That's what I've seen.
Yeah. Also, I have a feeling that my cat would really prefer to poop in the toilet. I'm just saying. He is that way.
Give it a shot.
Hey, I have to tell you a story, because the way that you're describing animal communication, as I said, I am not a specialist in animal communication. They come through every now and again, but this was so straightforward. I guess I just want to say the story, but then maybe validation to see if this is how they come through to you.
Yeah.
Just before we got on, 10 minutes before we got on this recording, my cat about a month ago had stolen one of my AirPods, and I have not been able to find it. I'm looking under the bed, under the, under every nook and cranny. And today, just before we got on, I'm out, like maybe he moved it into a different room. So I go into the living room. I'm looking under the couch. I'm looking under the console, everything. When I'm looking under the couch, the cat, Blackberry Smoke, he comes up to me and he starts playing with my hair. And I was like, you silly kitty. And I picked him up. I was like, I am looking for the AirPod that you stole. And immediately in my head was like, well, why are you looking there? It's under the fridge. And I went, oh. So I put him down and I looked under the fridge, and friggin' A, there it was. He was so perplexed what I was doing. He thought I was playing. And then I was like, I'm looking for my AirPod that you stole. He's like, oh, it's under the fridge. Why are you looking over there?
That sounds right. Yeah. It's just so there's not much to interpret sometimes. Most
It was so clear.
Frequently, it's not much to interpret. Yeah. So I've only had a couple non-human beings, including human beings, show up. So how do they show up to you? Because here's what I heard. Like when I was talking to Adelita, she's like, you're lucky you talk to animals, right? They are like people show up in like how they were on the planet. They frequently show up in spirit that way. So like wise asses show up as wise asses. People who are not nice may show up as not nice, that type of thing. Is that your experience?
That is my experience, absolutely. And all of the complications and the personality. Sometimes I'm able to connect with someone's greater self, but it's really mostly personality. And I will say the animals too. My dog has come through to me that he and I are just 100% connected. And he comes through as his personality, but I'm also they just feel more pure than I can describe humans. The animals just feel simple and pure, but grand at the same time. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, I mean, they have a different connection to, the greater thing, the more, the other, whatever you want to call it, the non-reality, the other reality. There's a couple phrases for it. I think I just made up a couple
phrases now. Yay! Cheers.
Where we sort of like. Our day sort of starts with looking at our belly button, right? Like it's very self-focused, and they're just aware of more than themselves.
They are. It's interesting though, and I'm curious what your take is on this. I have not found that animals are. I used the word like simple before. Maybe I think I said that pure, but I almost feel like. It's not because they are not complex beings. It's more like they just see things straightforward.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how it is. I don't know. Is that your experience?
Yeah. Just see things very clearly. Like, so I had, and so they use sort of whatever's at their disposal to communicate. Right. And so a lot of folks come to me because my cat's doing a thing behaviorally, my dog's doing a thing behaviorally. And so there was a client who showed up a while back and I always ask people for 3 questions. Give me 3 questions. I promise to ask them. I can't guarantee they'll be answered. Well, whatever shows up, shows up. Yeah.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
And so she came to me and she's like, my dog's biting people. This was a Chihuahua. My dog is biting people when they come over, and you got to tell my dog to stop doing that. Okay, I will certainly have the conversation. I can't guarantee any outcome here. I will certainly, other than having the conversation.
Yep.
So I find that little Chihuahua, and the dog starts the conversation. I don't have a chance to ask a question. The dog says, you got to ask her about her job. So why am I asking her about her job? Because that's what has to change. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. And there's times where I'm like, am I really getting into a 30-minute session with like 2 pieces of information? Like, is that really what's happening right now? Yes, you are.
Yes, it is.
You are, right. Mm-hmm. And because I'm like, give me all the things. I want everything. I want to like download them with a book, and like, you got these 2 things to work with, buddy. Here you go. Right.
Because it's that simple.
It's that simple. It's that simple, right? I mean, I had a conversation with a client. It lasted 2 hours, and all I got was, they expect me to be something that I'm not. And that conversation was 2 hours, right? Because we had everyone in the household expecting something different from this animal.
Yeah.
Right. So going back
humans.
Humans we're terrible.
We complicate. Damn it. We just complicate things.
Humans. So so I get online with the woman who has the Chihuahua who wants to stop biting people. And she's not a happy person. You can tell immediately, like, just not. I'm like, oh, here we go. And she said, "Did you talk to the dog?" I did. "Did you tell him to stop biting people?" What would you talk about? "What do you do for a living?" "I'm out of work." "You're not out of work." "Well, what do you do to make money right now?" "Well, I'm a private driver, Ubers, limousines." "How is that working out?" "Well, I have spinal issues. In about an hour or 2 driving around, my back is all banged up. My doctor tells me I shouldn't be doing this job." oh, well, here's what your dog had to say. And then we go into what the dog said. Your job is the problem. That's the thing that has to change. And she goes, well, my dog's been biting people for 8 years. 8 years, a long time. I've only been doing this job for a year. Okay, well, now we're getting to a conversation of your dog is mirroring your behavior. Your dog is angry because you're angry or unhappy or whatever the negative emotion we want to tie there, right? And it's simply just showing your emotional state with biting people.
Mhm.
And so we didn't have enough time to go into each and every job history, but based on the 1 year of driving and how that's not jazzing her up and how that's causing her physical pain and her emotional reaction to the job and the pain, right? Like that's what has to change. And as we're talking, I saw roses and I go, so what are you doing with roses here? And she goes, well, I paint vases. I paint roses on vases, and then people use those vases and put flowers in them. And okay, so you can see how it's interesting how these two things are showing up in this conversation. One
Yeah.
that's causing me the stress and has to change according to the dog, and this other thing that is, it's uplifting. It lights you up a bit. Like it's really interesting how these two things are showing up in contrast. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what the job is. I'm not a career counselor, for in this
Right.
context, but moving closer to something that feels more like this, like the vases versus feels more like this, that can
Mhm.
change you, and then your energy changes the dog, and now we're all having a better time.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Animals, I'm just thinking about my own animals and how reflective they are. My partner, he's like high energy, a little edgy, and he has a cat that whenever I walk into the house, the cat just gravitates and like sits next to me. He's like, he really just loves your calm energy. And I'm like, okay. But I think that that's true. He just gravitates towards that calm, and he loves his dad, but he recognizes that dad's a little on edge sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
So fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why, Nick, what was happening in your 20s that this started opening up for you? Because that's similar to me. I was not like a little kid who saw dead people or something, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
I don't know. I would say the things that led up to it that are part of conversations today, right? So looking back at it, you can go, well, maybe. I remember when I got my license, like the first thing I wanted to do was go see Jim Bergman in Asbury Park, because he was a psychic, and my mom was going there, and I was like, "This, like, I want to go to this guy," right? So that was one of the things,
Interesting.
and I remember him saying, because I asked him, I said, "Why do I always feel stoned leaving leaving here? Like it's frequently I leave here and I feel stoned, and you're sitting over there, I'm sitting over here, you're saying things, and then I leave. Like
Yeah.
that's what's happening."
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you're going deep into the meditation. And I remember going, oh, okay, that makes sense. I have no idea what he's talking about. Right.
Okay.
I don't
All
know.
right.
But like what I have learned is when you're around people doing a thing, there's a certain amount of that rubbing off on you, and being around folks who can tap in and getting into a meditative space that can open up things for sure. Right. So 30-ish years later, that makes sense. And
Yep.
there was some having fun with the occasional psychedelic at that point too,
Yes.
which could open things up. And once you're opened up,
Yeah.
right now you are. And
Yeah.
and and then I think the tap on the shoulder was the dreams, right? That just
Okay.
would show up as like, hey, are we doing this? Is like there's something going on here. Like you like go through the door
Yeah.
and see what's
Okay.
available.
Okay, so that's similar, and I'm curious about the psychedelics too, because it's interesting. I haven't tried any kind of plant medicine in that way, but I have smoked pot a couple of times, and I was actually been out of shape. I'm like, I feel like this when I'm meditating. Why am I why am I smoking? Like this is, and now I'm just pissed because I didn't get to like slowly go and get into a high state. It was like I'm annoyed.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
But I can see why, because meditation is what opened me up, I suppose. Were you also meditating and doing things like that? You were being around other people that were doing work, but I was curious about yourself.
I mean, only in 2017 I started to properly meditate. I mean, there was mindfulness and there's other
Okay.
things happening
Yes,
before
yes, yes.
then. And we used to do that at one of the jobs that I had, that we had like mindfulness every day. And I remember at some point I'm doing what I now consider meditation with everyone who's doing mindfulness. And my experience was whatever I was doing at the time. I remember coming out of it going, no, I don't think anyone here is doing what I'm doing. Like, this is something different is
Oh.
happening here, right? Because people would come out and be like, "Oh, that was so good. I feel reset." And I'm like, "Holy shit! Like, did you feel things moving in your body? Like things are like there was some shit that was going on, and people are just like, I feel good." And I'm like, "This is
Uh,
like
did
you
you
had it,
feel the left artery in your
yeah." Like I really enjoyed that crisp glass of water. I'm like, I was in a dunk tank for about 10 minutes. Like, what's going on over? Like
Intense.
just totally different experiences, right? And you just don't
Yeah.
go, you don't engage with that with someone who drank a glass of I didn't, with a glass of water, and when you feel like you're in the dunk tank, you're just like this, like I gotta, this is just
Yeah.
different. This is just different.
Yeah, unless you're a Wim Hof enthusiast, cold soaking and doing that, that's a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you are ultra sensitive, it sounds like. Perhaps you've always been that way. Were you a little kid that was sensitive?
I was, and I think when you read the stories or you hear the stories of I was always like this, I think my version of always like this was that was a thing, and for reasons I squashed that.
Yeah. Oh, we have the same story. Yeah. It was like, no, this is evil in my life. It was like, okay, squashed. Nope, you're too
Yeah.
sensitive. Can't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it was just like it wasn't productive to feel all the things that I was exposed to. So
Ah. Mm-hmm.
so squash it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Productive. That too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. So cool. And now, is it productive?
It is super productive. It is a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing. It's so strange and wonderful, and I highly encourage everyone to have some version of it for themselves.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into what you also do for folks, right? You give readings and things, but you also teach people how
Yeah.
to tap into this.
Yeah, yeah. So the I mean, one thing leads to the other leads to the other, right? And so in 2017, she said, and it'll be easy for you. And the reason was because of the meditation. And the reason why I learned the meditation is I was working with a gentleman who taught me how to do that, how to read energy, and how to work with other people with their own energy.
Yeah.
And so I work with folks to do that, to open them up and we have experiences doing that. It's just way easier. Like, if you're gonna make a meal, you can follow the recipe, you can get the things, but if you're standing next to the guy who made the recipe and they have all the ingredients, like, you can make a better meal faster there. So that working with someone who knows how to get the thing done, in this case, it opens up the space, it walks you through. It's super helpful, and people have really, really interesting experiences. I actually had an animal communication session last week. We barely talked about the animal. This is not typical, but I started to feel this young lady where she was going, and I asked the question, like, "Do you travel? You're very floaty." And
Yeah.
that opened a whole conversation around how she travels and, like, astral projection type of thing.
That's
Yes.
very floaty.
Yeah, right, right, right. And so I'm like, let's schedule time next week. Let's grab some time and just, like, focus on what this looks like and see how you can cultivate these experiences by yourself.
So cool. Oh my gosh. And for folks who are interested, mycatschooledme.com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
surprisingly, it was available. Yeah, uh-huh.
That's such a great website.
Thank you.
mycatschooledme.com. So great. I am actually curious about something. So, I get to interview lots of folks, and I just interviewed somebody who firmly believes that intuitive work is an actual gift, that not everybody has this. Well, mediumship, specifically mediumship. I'm curious what you think. What is your take?
So this is why I don't teach people to talk to animals. I I
Okay.
I teach people to I equate it to, and I'm not the most athletic person in the whole wide world, but like
Mm.
there's various forms of athleticism. You
Yeah.
can, and ways to express it, right? You could be a runner, a jumper, football, swimming, surfing. You could do it casually. You can do it professionally. Right? It runs the gamut. So what we're talking about here is a basic human ability that I think when it shows up, here's how I think about it. I think when it shows up, it is the gift at the right time that you have available to you.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then, right, almost like you got something for Christmas, right? You open up the box, here's the thing. Now the question is, what are you going to do with the thing?
Mhm.
And now,
Mm.
now there's a skill conversation that comes into it because you need to do something with it and see where it goes.
Okay.
Or else it's just a gift that goes on the shelf with all the other gifts that you don't
Yeah, I
use.
tried to return mine, Nick. And they were like, "Sorry, no refunds." Now what?
Keep on going. Keep on going.
No, but I'm curious now. I personally found out why I realized why it was helpful. When you work with people, how do you find that folks realize, "Oh, this can be helpful in my everyday life," not even doing readings for people or that kind of thing, but just in my everyday life, and what's your experience with that?
I mean, so before the animals showed up and the energy work was showing up, just to be in tune with that other aspect of life was very helpful, right? And it helps you
Yeah.
navigate what shows up for your in yourself in your life and in a bigger contextual way, right?
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
way bigger than this one irritable thing that shows up today and threw off your whole day. It's so small. And when you can put all those things into greater context, that's super helpful. The way that it tangibly works for me, the energy from a running the business perspective is, and here's just one example. Like I was talking to a prospect about their website, and here's how we would go about the first 6 months of working together. And I mentioned technical, and I felt them sort of retreat in the conversation,
Oh.
right? I felt them get a little quiet, and I was like, check, like I need to come back to that and see what's going on. And I kept on talking, and then I came back to the technical, and I knew to gently drill into that because there's something there.
Yeah.
And it turns out that, well, we were okay with all the other parts because reasons we were able to, we feel comfortable, we can execute on those things in partnership or else. But the technical aspect, we don't have any technical resources on our team to be able to implement those recommendations. So what would we do with that? And that was a block to moving forward. Well,
Mhm.
because of feeling what I felt in the conversation, I was able to go back to it and press on the gas a little bit and see like what's going on over here. And and so
Uh-huh.
that reading of, when the energy flips was very helpful. I mean, people talk about I walked into the room and you feel the energy in the room. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. But but what can you do with that? Right? Like how do you
Yeah.
use that to your advantage? What do you do with that awareness? It's a little bit, and sometimes it's like this, right? I mean, I have awful sugar addiction issues. Terrible. Awful. And so the worst thing for me would be to walk, you know, down on the main street someplace in front of the bakery and smell those donuts coming out, right?
Oh.
Information, right? Like, and people are like, well, I should do something with that. I would just like zip in there, get a dozen donuts, eat them outside, and go back and get more, right? So it's only information. You don't have to react to everything that you pick up, right? Just because
Oh,
someone's a little pissy, a little angry, overly
yes.
excited, whatever those things are, it's all it is information. You get to do something
Mhm.
with it or not. So,
Yes.
and I think people
And
get
that's
confused.
true. Okay. So you're helping folks fine tune A, do I need to do something with it? And B, if I do, then what do I do?
Yes.
That's very cool. Well, I'll tell you what, it helped me find an AirPod today. I mean, my cat did. It's very, very practical. But right, I've also found something similar with folks that they can use it for work and things that doesn't necessarily have to lead to I'm a psychic now and I help
Doesn't.
people in that way. It
No.
can be so practical with
Yep.
walking things. Wow. MyCatSchooledMe.com. Other places folks can find you, Nick?
If you're interested in a half-baked Instagram account, you can go to instagram.com/mycatschooled.me. There's some things up there, but
Half-baked. Was that a pun?
it could have been a pun. Yeah. So I keep threatening myself that I'm going to get active on there, and someday I think I will. But until then, I'll just keep on calling it half-baked.
Well, I saw Ninja on there. She's beautiful.
She's adorable. She is a good-looking
She is
cat.
so beautiful. She is.
Yeah.
She's stunning.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Folks got us good. Just the animal photos alone are enough for me to go to your half-baked account.
Which is why the internet was created, I think. Right? It was created for animal pictures.
I agree. Yes, done. Nick, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate you.
It's been a pleasure. Back at you.
Thank you for joining the Reluctant Medium podcast today. I hope that this episode has brought you beautiful, high vibration, and that it continues emanating from your heart space for the rest of the day and beyond. Don't forget to join the Reluctant Medium on patreon.com, and you can also visit thereluctantmedium.us and the Reluctant Medium TV show on newrealitytv.com. Until next time, my friend, may you be well.